Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Become a Cloud Revenue Producer, a cloud business building program for MSPs, delivered with my good friend, Todd Hussey. How are you, Todd?
Hey, Mathieu, how are you? Bonjour.
Bonjour, bonjour. I'm doing very well. Before I hand things over to you, Todd, just want to maybe cover a few housekeeping items. So first of all, this is a recorded webinar. So we do encourage everyone to put their comments or questions in the chat window of the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar app, local app. I also would like to bring your attention to two documents that are within that section as well. So our remote work guide to support our partners, and indirect and through that how to support your customers as a shareware partner, and all of the resources, tools that we've put together. So check it out, the remote work guide. There's of course Todd's CRPexperience web shop, so it's a one-pager document that highlights a little bit the principles behind all of these web shops and webinars and the value add that they can bring to you and your business as an MSP. And finally, I've also included a link to our COVID-19 SureWeb Partner Resource Hub. So this is a great place for you to go check out. It contains all of our offers, promotions, in terms of products and services to support you during this period and you, your customers. It includes a lot of the assets, contents, whether they be guides, marketing campaigns, toolkits, etc., that you may use to help your customers transition to a work from home or to help them be more secure in a work from home setup and environment. So that being said, if there's anything you need whatsoever, SureWeb is all ears. We really want to hear from our partners as much as possible, and we do so on a daily basis. But anyone in today's web shop is encouraged to reach out to SureWeb, their account managers, if there are areas in your business or your customers that you feel we could help you meet, or challenges that you're having that we can help you meet and overcome. So we're open and we want to talk to you guys, so we encourage that communication. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So that being said, for those of you who don't know me, my name is excuse me, Matthew, Director of Partner Success with SureWeb. Been with the business for about 10 years now, and I'm somewhat co-hosting this webinar with Todd, even though he is the consultant, he is the expert, he is the one that's going to be delivering the value through this web shop. And if you have missed the first three, I encourage you to reach out to your account manager to listen to the recorded webinars, because they're all sequential, right? This process follows a logical step, as you'll see from Todd's introduction. So on that note, Todd, pass things over to you.
Thank you, Matthew. So about a minute before we started this, Matthew said, hey, let's do the videos. So you're seeing me in my most casual look, but I think that's the way we're working today, working from home. And I'll apologize up front if you see anybody in the background, but again, that's where we are today in this crazy world. Yes, it is a series of web shops. Today, it's all about the 5 essential, or the whole web series are the 5 essential steps to build your profitable high MRR, high value cloud business. And there, here are the steps, or I'll call pieces of the pie. First one we did several months ago was about creating your business outcomes focused value proposition. And again, as Matthew had said, we have that recording, and I think he just said go to your account manager to view it. Last month we talked about defining your target personas. Again, we're living in a world here where focusing on verticals and sub-verticals is really, really important for the MSP to sell cloud services, and most importantly, selling to the business managers within these companies, because they are the new buyers of technology. Today we're going to do the third piece of the pie. It's talking about bundles, 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 bundles. It's really about the why you must create high value, high MRR business outcomes. Those are the key words here. Business outcomes focused bundles, including a couple other key words here I just mentioned also. Persona specific. Again, because the business managers are the new buyers of technology to the tune of soon to be 90% according to Forrester. And as MSPs, we've traditionally sold to the IT department. And so the people that are, again, buying are around the IT department, i.e. cloud, and they're asking the IT department to implement it. So let's have a couple setup slides here, and these are very, very, very important. So why are we here, and what's the opportunity? And people talk about cloud. Fundamentally, it's about digital business transformation. There isn't a company in the world that can't avoid not being digital. And we used to call it the Amazon effect or the Uber effect. I'm going to call it right now the COVID-19 effect. What we've seen in the past 6 weeks is a massive, massive rush for companies to enable a remote workforce, which is arguably step one of being digital. So what is needed for all of these businesses to become digital? They need SureWeb. They need that place to go to get all of the technologies and services for them to enable a remote workforce and do everything else that's required for them to be successful in this new world going forward, which is being digital. And don't become a blockbuster, or don't become the Amazon effect. Don't become a retailer that's going out of business. And if you watch the news, the retailers, I think the last nail is on the coffin here for the retailers. So those are that's your opportunity. You have the fantastic partner in SureWeb. What's needed? You are needed. You, according to Gartner, are a cloud services brokerage. I'm going to call you if you dive into the cloud pool and deliver the cloud and digital business transformation to your clients. I'm going to call you a cloud solutions provider. According to Gartner, it's the single business opportunity in cloud, bar none. And I think that just went through the roof with COVID-19. I think that we have lived in a world, a dimmer switch world, where clients have been in a kind of a dimmer switch model to become digital. And also MSPs have been in a dimmer switch model to become CSPs. The light switch just happened 6 weeks ago. Again, where clients had put on the light switch to say, I need to be digital. And I'm seeing MSPs saying, I need to get into this business to help my clients be successful. So what are the cold hard facts though in all of this? Your cheese has moved. I just mentioned that. The buyers of cloud are soon to be 90% business managers, not IT. They are the CFOs, the CEOs, the person that runs marketing, the person that runs sales, the person that runs some division. And so it's very, very different than what you've been used to. Second thing, these people don't care about technology. They care about solving their business problems. End of story. And again, that has been a light switch right now. Lastly, in this is these business managers are smart. They're out researching for technologies and services, cloud-based predominantly, to help them achieve their desired business outcomes. So the CFO is having his glass of red wine at night, and he's surfing the web to find solutions for them to be digital. And it probably 6 weeks ago, I bet you there was millions of business managers going online saying, how do I enable a remote workforce? So again, COVID-19 just accelerated these overnight. And one last word here about business outcomes. And I've been doing technology startups my whole life, working through with MSPs and so on. And during traumatic times in the economy, like we're going through right now, one of the things that I've had to do running my businesses is say, okay, if we had a nice to have value proposition, we now have to have a must have, because no one's gonna buy a nice to have value proposition today in our turbulent economic times. So I implore all of you to think very hard through your value proposition and look at yourself in the mirror. To what extent is it a must-have value proposition? So why do you have to bundle? Well, first of all, I think it's pretty simple that you can't sell enough standalone cloud like Office 365, not picking on them, but you can't sell enough of that quickly enough to make a business out of it. So that's a simple math exercise, and I think we all understand that. I have had clients that have been convinced that they can sell enough of it over time to make a business out of it. It's physically impossible to do it. Second thing, going back to the business managers, okay? I'm going to use a restaurant analogy here. So a friend of mine owns several pretty high-end seafood restaurants here in the Boston area, and he creates tasty meals. That's what customers want at his restaurant. They're relying on him and his executive chef to create these compelling meals made up of seafood and the dessert and the wine and so on and so on. Customers don't want to walk in and say, here's a slab of swordfish, that's all we have. The business people that you're talking to want bundled solutions that help them achieve their desired business outcomes. Same thing, my friend Jim and Jay at the seafood restaurants do the exact same thing. They are creating tasty meals because that's what customers are going to want, that's what they'll pay for, and that's where the margin is. Exact same thing with you. You bundle your solutions to solve business outcomes, and there's margin in that. And that includes OTR one-time revenue services and an MRR monthly recurring revenue services around that. Third, and I think this is becoming arguably as important as the other two, cloud, and I think we're going to see this going forward as I hear many MSPs are having customers ask for reduced MRR for their managed services, and maybe even questioning managed service, traditional RMM managed services. With cloud, it is by far the stickiest technology solution to date, because they are not going to be able to work without Office 365 as an example, and the cybersecurity as a service as an example, and all the things that SureWeb has to offer. So cloud is the ultimate stickiest technology solutions out there. And it might or might not be recession proof, but it is, in my opinion, by far the most stickiest solution. Very
Hey,
important.
Todd, I'll just jump in right here. So absolutely 100% agree. And, obviously I've been with SureWeb for close to 10 years now, and I've spoken to a lot of partners at different phases of their transformation, from break fix to a managed service, from, break fix to recurring revenue, from on-prem to cloud. And there's one common theme that I see across the board, and that is that partners who have bundled, who have created value and differentiated their offering, are able to hit 40, 50, 60% margins and profitability, versus people that are still selling standalone cloud solutions, if they're selling cloud, of course, services, and then comparing to the manufacturer MSRP, for example, Office 365, Microsoft online pricing, they then feel that they have to limit themselves, so they'll quote their price and they'll match the MSRP. They won't be bundled to hide the value of these more commodity-like services across a greater set of value, and they'll be limiting their profitability because of that. So bundling for sure achieves greater profitability, and when you have not just the right services, cloud services, but the right value added services and differentiation, and you're able to really focus on delivering valuable business outcome solutions to your customers, you're in the 40, 50, 60% range, and that's the target area.
Well, we're going to get into that. I'm going to go back to the restaurant analogy in a couple of minutes. But selling, a piece of swordfish, there's no margin in it. Selling all the other things that make it a meal, and my friend Jim every Sunday sets the menu for the week, and he calculates the margin to the penny. And because he creates tasty meals, like the MSP has to create business outcomes focused value cloud solutions. And again, it's sticky, just like Jim at his restaurant. Sticky, he gets the same customers back every week. The analogies are insane. But there's always a but. Have you done your homework? Have you truly defined your value proposition? I urge you to go and watch the first web shop we did. This is very, very, very important, and I mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Okay, you got to think through today, not tomorrow. You got to think through today. Do I truly have a must-have value proposition? Second thing, again, please watch the other web shop. We talked about the personas. One thing I want you guys to think about today is it's quite simple. Why did I rob the bank? Well, they have the money. You have to think through today going forward, what types of businesses are going to survive. So you can target the businesses that have money. Some are going to be able to survive and thrive. Some you should stay away from, probably like restaurants. And that's, you really need to think through my must-have value proposition and who should I point it at, because I need them. I might like a different vertical, sub-vertical, and personas, but if they don't have money, it doesn't make any sense. So please, I urge you to look at those. So let's get into the pricing. Simple as king. That has been the age-old statement in product pricing and packaging. Simple, simple, simple. And stupid analogy here on the left is the proverbial Chinese eye chart menu. But what do people order? They go from the left and say, "Oh my God, I can't figure this out. I want it simple. I just want to look at a meal and it's really easy for me to do." So think of yourself in terms of bundling. It's easy for you, but more importantly, you got to make it easy for your client. And the good news is SureWeb has a great variety of different solutions you can offer, but it's up to you to think about creating those into appetizing meals, if you will, based on the customer's desired business outcomes. So here's your kitchen. This is what we teach our clients to do. We've been doing it for at least 10 years now, is to look at, here happens to be the SureWeb kitchen. On the left, the solutions you can look at, the customer needs. On the right, I just happen to make this very quickly. It's the URL to all of the different solutions that are offered. So when I teach my clients of how to approach a customer and help understand their desired business outcomes, I constantly refer to Dr. Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if you're familiar with that. Habit number 2. Begin with the end in mind with your customer. So begin with the end in mind of what are your desired business outcomes, and talk to the business people about that. They love to talk about their business, their desired business outcomes, their goals, their challenges, their objectives, and so on. Habit number 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. 2 key things we need to do with clients to talk about how we can help them achieve their desired business outcomes. Then you're going to be able to go back, like my friend Jim does at the restaurant, and create the meals. You've done all the great work with your clients to understand and provide them a roadmap. Now you can pick and choose quite simply from the menu here, as well as all the different buckets of OTR services you should consider that are applicable to what problems you're trying to solve. Okay, I just happen to put random X's in here, but this is a good visualization of what you should consider doing to help your clients achieve your desired business outcomes. Pick your OTR services. The third of what are your monthly recurring revenue services that you can wrap around, from help desk to executive reporting to CIO services and so on. Let me very quickly show this on an Excel spreadsheet, if I can. Bear with me 1 second. Here it is on my simple Excel spreadsheet. These are modeling tools that we have used with clients for 8-9 years now. It helps them to visualize how we can go to the customer and then pick and choose to create the meals. This is exactly what my buddy Jim does. He showed me the portal he uses with his food distributor. And this is the exact type of model he does to create his meals for the week. Let me go back to the slides. So now we have picked a bunch of cloud solutions. We have chosen some applicable OTR and MRR services. What is the next thing we need to do? Let's run a deal scenario. Because just because we picked the technologies and the services, we now need to go through and create a deal financial scenario. Is this a profitable deal? To Matthew's point, wow, it would be wonderful to get to the 40–50% margin for that particular deal. So I'm going to go back to another Excel spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet here where we are able to take the solutions that we picked in the communications and collaboration or productivity suite, if you will, from SureWeb, the business applications we've chosen, the security backup and compliance solutions that we've chosen, the infrastructure, the voice, and NOC services if applicable. So we're picking these off, and then we're putting in the pricing and the costing for these. One time, monthly, annual, what have you. We're putting in a seat count up here. Happens to be 25 seats. I haven't this is not a working version of this Excel spreadsheet, so I can't give you a perfect example, but I think you can understand. And then we're putting the quantities of what seats need what. And then we're putting down our services, our managed services. This is a modeling tool that our clients use to say, to show, okay, here's the margin, the dollars and margin for our one-time services, our monthly services, and if so, annual services. Then it gives us a completely, totally blended margin analysis for that deal. It's extremely important that you need to go through these because it can get really, really complicated. When you're reselling Office 365 standalone or one or two other apps on top of that, it's really not that complicated. But where you want to get to are these $100, $150, $250 per seat per month deals. It's really important that you go through some type of margin analysis. I'm going to go back to my buddy Jim. I'll sit at the bar with him and I will point to a dish that was just served at a table next to us. He can tell me the margin on that dish because he goes through this analysis. It's very important. The higher you get up into the stack, it does get more complex, but that's where you're going to be able to understand your margin position on these and you know, be able to sell the value. Let me go back to another slide. Everybody asks us at Cloud Revenue Partners, so okay, bundles, it can get confusing. What we always recommend is you just make, again, it goes back to the Chinese menu. You got to make it really, really, really simple. From the SureWeb offerings, I suggest you create 3 standard, just simple, like the menu I showed you in the Chinese restaurant. The slide on the right showed just some simple meals, just to show your clients that you don't have a Chinese menu, the big one on the left. You've already thought through for them, and it may not be perfect, but you've thought through for them that, yeah, we have some bundled solutions. It may be exactly what they need. Like when I order the meal at the restaurant, well, I don't want the potatoes, I want the rice pilaf. But it gets the conversation going with your clients when you have a get in the door solution. And it could be Office 365 and some type of backup on top of that, or some type of security app on top of that. In your simple OTR services, in your simple MRR services. That could be, a get in the door model. Then you might have a core that has more complexity. It solves more business problems. Maybe this is the core is your remote worker enablement solution. But again, this is about you going and working with what's in the SureWeb portfolio of services to create these for what's, again, applicable to your value proposition and to your personas you're selling to. Here, the persona deep type solutions, where yes, you can get $100, $200, $300 per user per month. My clients are getting these for persona deep solutions. So what does that mean? That means you have bundles that are specific for when you're talking to the people in the finance department, the CFO, or the marketing people because they have a different needs, or the salespeople, they have different needs, or again, the remote staff bundle that has different needs, or just the traditional internal staff. These are just examples of what we teach our clients to do, to think about not just the business of this 500 people, but now because you have 4 or 5 different buyers within that 500 person business, again, the business managers, they have different desired business outcomes. So for you to walk in the door and at least start the conversation with some bundles versus the iChart Chinese menu, that brings huge value to them. And they're going to look at you and say, you already know a bit about my business. That's a huge value add for you to be able to do that. And these bundles are probably going to change because they're going to want different things. But again, it's like me at the restaurant, not looking at the Chinese menu. That's an iChart. That makes no sense to me. I need somebody to help me start where I'm going to order the food. It's the same concept here. Then all around that, your managed services, your VCIO services, your one-time services, your training, and so on and so on. So this is something I urge people to get to over time, because again, these business managers are buying these solutions without you right now. You want to be in there and do it proactively with them. So that is, well, let me show you one more slide. So we have this all wrapped up in a bow, and let's look at an example of right here. This is a modeling tool we use with our clients. On the left, and I know this is an eye chart, but what I'm trying to show you here, an existing 100 person seat customer, the OTR dollars we get for that $100, and the MRR. So MRR is $30 per seat. This is not a bundle. This is not an interesting bundle. Same exact customer. It's $100 per seat because we created a $100 bundle. And there's a lot of self-calculations in here. And I'll skip through all the other costing because it's not relevant to us, like the margin for the salesperson and so on and so on. I put in here for the same margin for both of these seat counts, 50% OTR for both, for the one-time revenue, and 30% blended gross margin for the monthly recurring revenue. Again, you can put in whatever numbers that are applicable based on what meal you have created. You can look at the difference here over time. This bottom is over time in terms of quarters. The blue is you selling the $30 package. The green is you selling the $100 bundle. Massive, massive difference, and this is the good old power of recurring revenue, what it looks like over time. What's interesting is if you change the one-time revenue figures for these, they don't change the trajectory of these curves much or these lines much. What really changes the trajectory is the monthly recurring revenue and, of course, the margin associated with that. And the higher you get up into the bundles, the persona-specific bundles, most specifically, you're going to get higher margin because there's more value to the client. So this is just an example, and this is an interactive. If I were to change the numbers right now, the trajectory of these lines would change immediately. This is just what the message I started with earlier. It's very, very, very hard to build your highly profitable, high value, high MRR cloud practice selling low MRR bundles. The most successful partners I see out there are focusing very, very much on vertical, sub-verticals, and to the business managers, and focusing on very high value bundles that deliver desired business outcomes. So I think we have the last slide. I like to keep these to 30 minutes. I personally, when I attend a webinar, if it says it's 60 minutes or so or 90 minutes, I typically shy away. I talk fast. I hope the message got through. Matthew, questions?
Well, before we get to the questions, I might want to just add a few things here. So thank you so much, Todd. So generally speaking, in my experience with working with partners, is I see really two model of bundling. There's one, if you will, that is based on products. So it's basically a bundle package or packages. Of course, you always have that concept of 3 offers. There's no question about that, your entry, mid, and top level. But product-based bundles in which all managed services are included. We still see that today. But generally speaking, what I've seen is a transition to more pure managed services bundles, so like an essential, an intermediate, and an advanced package. So, you know, so these are bundles based on core productivity, remote monitoring solutions, backup solutions, if you will, with different levels of managed services. So they can all have the same different services, but maybe you get on-site support, maybe you get after-hour support, maybe you get another level of managed security added on, maybe you get different ROI, not ROI, but different disaster recovery solutions where you have a return that is quicker, so quicker business continuity and backup solutions. So these things can vary, but you have that transition, and you have the ability to just come in with an entry-level bundle that includes, you know, just your remote support, your Office 365, your remote monitoring and management, your server management, your small backup, and then from there you just increase. So you add products, services as you go on, and leave the focus on profitability from licensing and focus more on services, because that is where what you guys do and the services that you deliver to your customers is where most of the profitability stands. There's no question about it.
That's exactly why it's important to go through each of your package and select the services, because you're right, you're going to make the money by far on your 50%, 60% margin services.
Exactly, exactly. So, all right, so that being said, let me get to a few questions here. So let me just have a look. So, how do I determine how much I charge the customer? That's one that comes up often.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And I have to throw it back to you. I have to throw it back to the MSP, because it all depends on how much value you're providing them. So if you're selling, a starter kit, if you will, or starter bundle, and they're going to probably immediately go to, if it's Office 365 and something, they're going to immediately probably go to Microsoft's website or some other place and compare price. And so if you're selling something of much more significant value, so you're probably gonna have to price that starter kit not too different than what everything on the web Microsoft's site says, and everybody else, because it's a commodity. But your services is where you're going to differentiate yourself there, right? And justify the services that you're selling. So you're not justifying the product, you're justifying the value add services and selling virtual CIO services and price it to the extent that you can price that. But the higher up the stack you get, and again, it's just like going to the restaurant and ordering a hamburger, right? Well, I can get this hamburger for $3, and this restaurant wants to charge me $8. Boy, that makes no sense to me. But if it's a meal, then you're not gonna go and say, well, the hamburger is $3. You're not gonna do that because there's much more value in what you're getting. So you really have to understand your personas and the value you are providing, and do the best possible job of selling your inherent value, and really keep the product out of it. But of course, you have to do your margin analysis. You can't just say, I'm going to make 60% margin on this thing, when if the value you're providing it isn't worth that. So it's not an easy question to answer, and I get this question all the time because people want to say, well, tell me what the price is. I can't tell you what the price is.
Mhm. And certainly what I would recommend is, as you build your stack of products and services, and then you look at your costs for vendors and for solutions, hardware, cloud solutions, don't go about it the traditional way by adding a 10, 20, 30% markup. I would say increase it 100, 200% and have a go at it. Introduce that into your next conversation with your customer and see what the reaction is. And the more value you have and the more specific an audience you target with a specific vertical or persona solution, the better it is, or the easier it is to justify that price point.
And then we have lived in a world where IT has been under massive pressure to lower costs. The business managers don't have that, because the business managers have to run a business, and they have to run a business effectively and with productivity and so on. And so they will spend the money, and they will be much less and they'll be much less prone to compare prices, because you're selling them the meal. And sell them the value of how you can achieve their desired business outcomes, prices are going to become much, much less of an issue.
Absolutely. And often attached to that is the question of pricing per user, per device, all you can eat, or à la carte. So all these things are valuable. I mean, for me, I would say that over the last couple of years, I've seen a transition for those that were per device going to per user. It's very similar than per user, but it's obviously a flat fee per end user per month, and it covers all of the user's devices.
Yep.
So I would say, per user has become the main one, but there are some cases for a per device model as well. And all you can eat, we do still see that as well. More and more partners are in their statement of work or in their SLAs are putting structure around that in terms of, you know, off hours and unlimited support and stuff. You know, it doesn't take too many times to get burnt on a customer on a ticket or an incident for the profitability of that month of that customer for the whole year to disappear. So I see less of the all you can eat, but it's still very popular. Anything you want to add to those principles, Todd? Or
no, I live in a, and I preach the, first of all, simple, and I don't want to give clients too many options. And I think people really can understand per seat. It always goes back to, we're talking to IT much less. We're talking to business managers, and they think of headcount. That's the world that they live in. It's headcount, right? And a headcount is a seat, so they can easily understand seat pricing, is what I've seen.
awesome. All right, got a couple other questions here. What are the top business managers to sell cloud solutions to?
Well, I used to say marketing and sales by far, and that historically has been the case. I think it is becoming more of the person that is in charge of their digital initiatives, and it could be a COO, it could be the CFO, it could be some other person, but I believe, especially with the COVID-19 effect, there is a person in almost every organization that has been appointed, if you will, to guide the company to become digital. So I think you have to find out where they are on the digital business transformation journey and find out who's responsible for that. And if nobody is, that's a bit of a problem. But it has typically been the person that runs sales and marketing, which also correlates to they have the most percentage of remote workers. So I think it's changing to everyone has done a remote workforce enablement to an extent. They probably did it overnight. I think it's whoever did that initiative. If I were the MSP, I would go and say, who drove that initiative? Because we need to take it many steps higher in terms of making you digital.
Excellent, thank you. Another question here is, what areas of MSP bundles do you see as being the most profitable? I'll take that one, or I'll give it a stab if you don't mind. All right, well, of course, you know, productivity solutions are the first thing, you know, what you come in the door with. So, and those are often tied to vendor MSRP, so it's difficult without adding significant value or building IP to have high profitability numbers here. So I would say that managed servers, so really, I mean, server monitoring, remediation, operating system patching management, third-party patching, maintenance automation, secure remote support like antivirus, that kind of stuff is definitely an area where we see some of the highest margins on. And I say another one would be also security focus, so there's no question about that. So an MSP, this is typically found as an add-on, so there's core security services that are often included in all bundles, but and often the top bundle, the top tier bundle will have all of the security services included, or these can be positioned as add-on services, but not just MFA, but email encryption, phishing prevention, security training to end users, data loss protection and prevention, business continuity plans, IT user policies, security incident response. Like there's so many, but these are all often, there's of course a lot of it are based on technology and solutions, but a lot of it on services, on training, your expertise, your how-to, and that really is in my opinion is coming up on top as the most profitable areas of a solution set within a bundle.
Yep.
All right, so let's see a couple extra questions here. Let me just bring them up. All right, so this one more a little bit in line with what's happening today around COVID pandemic. So what are customers looking for today during the COVID-19 crisis?
Um, I just had this conversation with one of my clients who's a digital business transformation guru. I think when he talks to his clients, everyone he used the word survive, and I hate that word, but we also have to understand where the business world is today. So it's being agile, it's being productive, it's remote workforce, it's lowering cost as much as we can. It's having the right tools today to be able to turn their business on when this godforsaken thing is over. But also, and I got my crystal ball out, being able to turn the business on, and having the right productivity technologies in place, the right security in place, because I don't think there's going to be a mass rush back to yesterday and how the world used to work. I think again the COVID-19 effect has said everyone must be digital. In that in one major part of being digital, or the epicenter of it, is to deliver an A+ customer experience to everyone that touches your business. And what I mean by that is your remote workers, your prospects, your customers, your vendors, your partners. If you are not delivering an A+ customer experience after all of this is said and done, you're going to be in trouble. And that is a perfect segue into one of the first slides I put up, which is SureWeb's phenomenal solutions on the left, a company in the right being digital, and you in the middle making that happen. So it's helping them with their digital business transformation journey, which just happened right now, but that's just the baby step, i.e. enabling a remote workforce. I have no idea if I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you did. I would maybe complement that by saying that, customers are impacted in much the same way as MSPs are. Meaning, we're seeing a large decrease in net new sales, projects being postponed. We're seeing cash flow issues, especially for partners who didn't have automatic payment systems or prepaid payment methods in place. Of course, enabling workforce to work from home, that's been a priority. That is somewhat behind us, and now the companies that are still open for business, I've got the same issues. Like I said, new sales, cash flow issues, keeping employee safety and morale up, and just thinking about what are things going to look like when we get out of this. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Todd, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, well, I do have an offer for everyone, and this is a SureWeb specific offer. What I spend a lot of my time doing with MSPs is I spend a half an hour on the phone with them and do a Zoom screen share, and I ask them a bunch of questions that follow the 5 pieces of the pie we've been talking about in these workshops or web shops, and I will assess them, or actually it's a self-assessment. I'll ask the questions in 5 buckets of questions. You rate yourself in terms of to what extent you have a business outcomes value proposition in a scale of 1 to 5. Total of the score is 25 if you're perfect. I've done about 100 of these in the past 10 months. There's not a single partner that hasn't said, Todd, this was phenomenal value for the half hour we spent. Thank you so much. And then that's my free offer to you. And again, you rate yourself. I'll ask the questions. And then there's another offer, again, SureWeb specific, where you can get from us at Cloud Revenue Partners another follow-up conversation. We'll give you some input based on your score. So that's my offer to you.
That's great, thank you. And I encourage anyone to take advantage of Todd's offer, of course, exclusive to SureWebPartners. 30-minute calls, you get a score, you get to rate yourself in areas according to the CRPexperience chart where you have strength and, of course, where your weaknesses are. And then perhaps Todd can help you put a plan in place if you need additional help to execute and bring those weaknesses up to strengths.
We want everyone to be at 25.
You got it. That's the goal. And that is really what SureWeb is all about. It's more than just providing our partners with cloud solutions and services. It's providing you with the support, the how-tos, the solutions, the programs to bridge the gaps that you may have in your business and to make you into the best MSP that you can possibly be. So it's an ongoing battle and challenge. We're also learning every day. And thanks to our partners and our community, we keep getting better every day. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Todd, for your time. I wish everyone a good morning or a good afternoon, and be safe, and all the best to you and your families.
Hashtag be safe, please.
You got it. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys.